In this Notebook LM video, theologian Clement of Alexandria's work, the Stramata, highlights his view of the biblical tabernacle as a symbolic map of the cosmos. Blending Christian theology with ancient geocentric science, he sees the altar of incense as representing the earth, placing it at the sanctuary's center to reflect the belief in the earth's position at the heart of the universe.
Have you ever looked at an ancient building and thought, what if there's more here than just stone and wood? What if it's not just a building, but a map? Well, today we're diving headfirst into an incredible ancient idea, that a sacred temple could be a detailed blueprint of the entire universe. So let's start decoding it.
Our journey starts right here, with the Jewish tabernacle. This was the portable sanctuary you read about in the Hebrew Bible. For literally centuries, this building and the temples that were modeled on it were the absolute heart of Israel's spiritual life. It was a place for rituals, for prayer, a place where the divine was felt to be present. But for some ancient thinkers, it was so much more than that.
And yeah, that brings us to the big central question of our whole exploration. What if the layout, the furniture, the whole design of this sacred space wasn't random? What if it was a deliberate, symbolic model of the world, what scholars call an imago mundi? What if walking through its rooms was actually like taking a journey through reality itself? So how in the world do we start to decode a blueprint like this? Well, we're going to get some help from some early Christian thinkers, especially a guy named Clement of Alexandria. Around the year 200 AD, he made this powerful argument that every single object in the tabernacle was a kind of cipher, a symbol that matched up with a specific part of the universe. He saw the whole thing as a physical map designed to teach a deep spiritual truth. Think of this table as our legend, our key to reading this cosmic map. We're going to focus on the three big connections that Clement pointed out: the altar of incense as a symbol for the earth, the golden menorah as a symbol for the 7 planets, and the Holy of Holies representing the very realm of God. Our journey is going to start right in the middle.
All right, let's step inside. We're beginning our journey in the first room of the tabernacle, a chamber they called the holy place. Now, this area was filled with all kinds of symbolic furniture, but we're zeroing in on the one object that stood right at its heart.
And here it is. This is the foundational idea from Clement that really unlocks the whole model. He looks at this thing, the golden altar of incense, which was basically a small table where they burned fragrant spices every day, and he sees the earth. Now I know, that might sound a little strange at first, but trust me, his logic is completely grounded in the science of his day. You see, for Clement, this first room, the holy place, was a symbol for what the old philosophers called the sensible world. It's a fancy term, but all it means is the universe we can perceive with our senses. You know, the world of matter, time and space, the physical reality we all live in. So why the earth? Well, first, it's all about location, location, location. The altar was right in the center of the room, and in ancient geocentric cosmology, which was the scientific model for centuries, what was the fixed, unmoving center of the entire universe? Yep, the earth. The altar's placement was a direct echo of that cosmic role. It was the anchor. And then you have the incense. That rising smoke was the perfect symbol for prayers going up from humanity on earth towards the heavens. And this leads to a really profound idea. I mean, think about it. If the earth isn't just a rock floating in space, but it's actually an altar, then it becomes a sacred place. And if we're living on that altar, then our very existence, our lives, our work, our prayers, all of it becomes the incense we offer up from the very heart of God's cosmic temple. Okay, so we've established our center, the earth. Now let's lift our eyes from the center of the room and look at the lights that filled the space. We're moving from the ground beneath our feet to the heavens above. Over on the south side of the holy place, you'd find the golden menorah. Just this magnificent 7-branched lampstand, and its 7 flames were the only light inside that chamber. Just this constant, beautiful glow in the sacred dark. But here's where it gets really cool. For Clement and others, these weren't just 7 random flames. No way. He made this incredible symbolic leap, seeing them as the 7 planets of the ancient world. You know, those celestial bodies that seem to wander against the backdrop of the fixed stars. So get this. The lampstand wasn't just lighting a room. It was a model of the solar system. Now, it's super important to remember what planet meant back then. It comes from the Greek word for wanderer. So a planet was simply any of the 7 heavenly bodies you could see with the naked eye that moved independently from the stars. And that's exactly why the sun and the moon were on the list. They were the 7 great lights that everyone believed governed time and the seasons.
And the level of detail here is it's astonishing. The menorah was placed on the south side of the room, which perfectly mimics the path the sun and planets take across the southern sky if you're in the northern hemisphere. The central lamp, the one holding it all together, that was the sun, the ruler of the other 6. But it gets even more precise. Clement pointed out that the lights were on a slant, and he saw this as a symbol for the obliquity of the ecliptic, that 23.5-degree tilt of the Earth's axis that gives us our seasons. For him, this wasn't just a design choice. It was a sign of divine wisdom, the very tilt that makes life possible.
And Clement wasn't just making this up out of nowhere. The Jewish philosopher Philo, who was writing more than a century earlier, he saw the menorah as the 7 planets in cosmic harmony. The historian Flavius Josephus, who lived around the same time as the apostles, also said this was a common understanding. So Clement was working within this really powerful tradition, and then he added his own uniquely Christian layer to it, seeing that central lamp, the sun, as a perfect symbol for Christ, the Son of Righteousness and the light of the world.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. We've explored the earth and the heavens. The entire physical or sensible world has been mapped out in just one room. But the journey's not over. Now we come to the final threshold, this thick, heavy curtain, the veil that separates the holy place from the final innermost chamber, the Holy of Holies.
For Clement, this veil was way more than just a curtain. It was the boundary of reality itself. It separated the sensible world, the physical universe we see, from what he called the intelligible world. You can think of the intelligible world as the spiritual blueprint behind reality. It's that unseen realm of pure truth and ideas, something you can only grasp with your mind and your spirit. So to pass through the veil was to literally transcend physical reality. Clement saw the high priest's ritual, which he performed once a year, as a model for the soul's own journey. The priest would come wearing these incredibly elaborate robes, which Clement saw as a robe of the cosmos, all decorated with symbols of creation. But to enter the Holy of Holies, he had to take off all those fancy clothes. This symbolized something crucial, that the soul has to leave behind all material things, all distractions, and enter naked, in a spiritual sense, for a direct, pure communion with God. And what was back there, beyond the veil? The Ark of the Covenant. This was the ultimate symbol of that intelligible world. It was seen as the container of divine truth. Building on Philo's tradition, Clement saw the 2 cherubim on its lid not just as angels, but as symbols of God's 2 main powers: his creative mercy, the power that brings everything into existence, and his royal justice, the power that governs it all. And that space right between them, the mercy seat, that was the spot where those 2 powers met in perfect harmony, the very presence of God.
So we've journeyed from the altar of earth, past the planets of the menorah, and right through the veil of reality into the divine presence. It's a beautiful, really complex system. But what does any of this ancient map mean for us, today? Why does it still matter?
Well, this ancient map leaves us with some huge takeaways. First, it gives us a sacramental worldview, this idea that there's no real division between nature and what's sacred. The entire universe is a temple. Second, faith and science were united. Studying the stars wasn't just science, it was a holy act, a way to understand the Creator. Third, it shows us the power of symbols, how physical objects like altars and lamps can become like ladders, tools that help our minds climb towards higher spiritual truths. And finally, it gives life this profound purpose. We live on the altar of the earth, offering up our lives as a prayer, preparing ourselves to one day pass through that veil.
When you look at an image like this, you really get a feel for the sheer grandeur of that vision. It's a call to re-enchant how we see everything. To see the world not as a bunch of random matter, but as a meaningful, sacred space, a cosmic sanctuary built for communion.
Which really leaves us with one final thought to ponder. Clement saw the earth as an altar of incense, designed to send up a sweet-smelling fragrance. If that's true, if our world really is an altar, then it kind of begs the question, doesn't it? What fragrance are our lives, our societies, and our actions offering up to the cosmos?